Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas! Let's see what we have in our stockings today. Yes, it feels like a Doom mod, but it also feels like a classic NES game. Yes, very interesting. I think it's... yes, it's a Zelda Doom. Ho ho ho! Very wonderful present indeed. Ho ho! Like I've said many times in the past, there is probably no game in history that is more important when it comes to fan games, mods, and by extension ROM hacks than Doom. In case you're not familiar with the story, a few years after Doom came out, id Software actually distributed the development tools to the fans to allow them to make their own stuff out of Doom, and this caused a massive explosion in Doom fan games and mods, to the point that to this day, even 30 years later, it still has one of the most active modding communities of any video game, even rivaling things like Skyrim and Fallout. It is such a remarkable thing to have happen. It basically allows Doom to be infinitely replayable, and you don't even have to feel bad about it because they actively encouraged it. There's never a bad time to bust out one of these mods and give them a spin, least of all Christmas time. So today I'm going to be talking about Zelda Doom. That's 2 OG Zelda inspired fan games in a row. You might be wondering why I'm playing another one of these so soon, especially since, as established in the previous video, the only good NES game is Metroid. Well, the answer is simple. Somebody requested it. Yeah, you know those requests? That thing I've been asking you to do? That was real, I wasn't trying to trick you. I am making a list and I am checking it twice, and you know damn well that I'm gonna be checking which of yous is naughty and nice. Because Santa Claus is coming to town and he's got a big old bag of bootleg Mario games. Zelda Doom puts Zelda in the world of Zelda on NES. That's wrong. Zelda Doom puts Doom Guy into the world of Zelda on NES. It is a full recreation of the original Legend of Zelda, and I don't mean a full recreation as in they tossed in some imps and barons of hell all around Hyrule. No man, this is literally the original game except entirely remade in Doom. Every single dungeon, every single secret, every single shitty old guy who charges you 20 rupees for blowing up a rock, to the sword beam that you shoot whenever you have a full health bar, it's all there. Except now it's a first-person shooter thing, and the hero of time is now a beefy space marine. I don't know why, but seeing Doom Guy wearing Link's hat is such a beautiful sight to see. You also gotta love his giant arm swinging the sword around. The gameplay loop is nearly identical to the original game. You get dropped in, the music starts up, and you're on your way. If you've beaten the original game, or have even gotten pretty far into it, you will know a lot of the general gameplay beats from the start. But to experience the original Legend in first person makes it more interesting, and if you're a true fan, you'll appreciate the new perspective. If you've never played the original Zelda, on the other hand, you might take some time to get used to the way it does things, but at the same time, the mod is, in many ways, a lot more accessible than the original game. What's funny about this game is that since it's basically a shot-for-shot recreation of the original Zelda down to the dungeons, secrets, items, and enemy placements, the mod serves as an honest-to-God genuine substitute for the original, and if you ask me, I'd almost rather play this version instead. It can still be challenging if you're playing like a dumbass and on higher difficulties, but by being a first-person shooter thing, it not only makes for a breath of fresh air, but I think it makes it more enjoyable altogether. Even though the combat of the game still operates on similar principles of spacing and timing, there is an element of smoothness and responsiveness afforded to the player by the first-person perspective that isn't there in the original game. Enemies can chase you, shoot you, pop out of nowhere when you walk into a room and scare the shit out of you because it plays the sound effects 7 times on top of each other at the same time. Combined with slightly easier difficulty in general, the game's pacing is far more efficient because you don't have to worry about losing a metric assload of progress whenever you die, because you don't die super often. Not to mention the save feature actually works. The new perspective does add a lot to the gameplay, but it's also surprisingly fun from the standpoint of presentation. There are skybox effects that change depending on your environment, like how the whole world turns dark in the graveyard. You have pitch black rooms where all you can see is the glowing eyes of the enemies in the dark. I especially love climbing up the mountain in the north and just getting a nice lookout at the entire kingdom. This is one of the greatest benefits of this version of the game. It is far easier for you to place yourself in the world when you can actually see your surroundings. The original Zelda will constantly have you flip-flopping between looking at the screen and looking at the Nintendo Power magazine next to you on the couch, or more accurately to modern sensibilities, a JPEG of the map on your phone, and cross-referencing them to figure out where you have and haven't been. The world doesn't feel as divided and limited in first person. You can see across the map if nothing's in your way, which makes it far easier to explore. And also, since it's Doom, you do have a map screen which you can pull up at any time by pressing tab. It's a lot more convenient than stopping the game and pulling up a map on your phone. Another drastic change I noticed, and probably my favorite thing about it, is the secrets. In the original game, if you wanted to find all the secrets, there really wasn't any way to tell if there was a secret there unless you had a strategy guide or did an extremely thorough search. You basically had to bomb every single wall tile and try to set every little tree on fire, and to my memory at least, if you left the screen or something, you'd have to do it again. Old video games are famous for this type of crap, Zelda especially. But what's really cool about this mod is that it actually gives you subtle visual clues to tell you which things can be blown up or burned. Just a little thing like some cracks or some different colored dots on the trees is more than enough to make it engaging, but without making it way too easy. Instead of spending 300 years checking every single tile, you can just scan your eyeballs across them and zero in on them in an instant. It's a simple way of cutting down on one of the more tedious aspects of the original game. One of my favorite areas is the grave area because you can spawn a billion ghosty boys all at once and just repeatedly smack them all with a sword and they all drop loot and resources. This is a great place to go when you need to stock up on things since they move pretty slowly and aren't super dangerous to you. Of course, to some extent, the slow, easily dispatchable enemies are a bit of a pattern in this game. I think a lot of the enemies are slower than their NES counterparts, which I assume was done for balancing issues, but sometimes it's a tiny bit too easy. I think for me though, the biggest problem with this mod is that it wasn't called Zelda Doom. This was a major missed opportunity. It would have been stupid, but I played a hack called Princess Peach Sex Hack once, so it'll be a pretty wild achievement to top that. But if you can overlook a huge mistake like that, this is definitely a mod worth playing. I could easily recommend this both to people who love the original Zelda and those who haven't played it or might even actively dislike it for its elderly design. The first-person perspective gives a unique point of view to this world that we thought we knew, which is both interesting just from the standpoint of visuals, but also allows the gameplay to be far more fluid and manageable by modern standards. And on the other hand, it's Doom. And it's also Zelda. That's like two whole things. You'd have to be an insane person not to be satisfied with that. Thanks, Santa Claus, you're the best. Ho ho ho, you're welcome, and be sure to tune in to tomorrow's video. I won't spoil what it is, but I think you'll find it very, serene. Yes, serene. Ho 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 ho, Merry Christmas.